The next thing is, does it change enough to interfere with the efficacy of a whole group of monoclonal antibodies that many of you are aware of? The monoclonal antibodies that are being used for treatment in some cases and prevention. Since monoclonal antibodies bind to a very specific part of the virus, when there's a mutation there, it has much greater a chance of obliterating the efficacy of a monoclonal antibody. And we're seeing in the much more concerning mutations that are in South Africa and in some respects Brazil, which is similar to South Africa, that it is having an effect on the monoclonal antibodies. The real question that people are quite clearly interested in is, what is the impact on the vaccine? And so far, literally, we have this new phenomenon that are preprint journals where people get data and they put it into a preprint server where it hasn't yet been peer reviewed. But you have to pay attention to it because it gives you good information quickly. Ultimately, it gets confirmed. And we're seeing them coming out over the last few days. And what they're saying is that what we likely will be seeing is a diminution, more South Africa than UK. UK is that diminution in what would be the efficacy of the vaccine-induced antibodies. Now, that does not mean that the vaccines will not be effective. And let me explain why. There's a thing called a cushion effect. So if you have a vaccine like the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine that can suppress the virus at a dilution, let's say, of 1 to 1,000, and the mutant influences it by bringing it down to maybe 1 to 800 or something like that, you're still well above the line of not being effective. So there's that cushion that even though it's diminished somewhat, it still is effective. That's what we're seeing, both certainly with the UK, which is very minimal effect. We're following very carefully the one in South Africa, which is a little bit more concerning, but nonetheless not something that we don't think that we can handle. What is the message? Because someone could say, now, wait a minute, if you have the possibility that the vaccines are diminishing in their impact, why are we vaccinating people? No. It is all the more reason why we should be vaccinating as many people as you possibly can. Because as long as the virus is out there replicating, viruses don't mutate unless they replicate. And if you can suppress that by a very good vaccine campaign, then you could actually avoid this deleterious effect that you might get from the mutations. Bottom line, we're paying very close attention to it. There are alternative plans. If we ever have to modify the vaccine, that is not something that is a very onerous thing. We can do that given the platforms we have. But right now, from the reports we have, literally as of today, it appears that the vaccines will still be effective against them. With the caveat in mind, you want to pay close attention to it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.